of Edinburgh, back in 1947, on November 20th. 2 strings of pearls, pearl and diamond stud earrings, and a Williamson diamond brooch with its distinctive pink stone. And so preparations now being made for the royal couple to make their journey outside the castle to see the people of Windsor before returning to the upper ward and eventually St George's Hall, magnificently restored after the terrible fire some years back, which will be the scene of the reception and no doubt the party long into the night. John Morgan's watching events with us at Sky Centre.
Well, I thought it was a very nice wedding. It was very quiet, it was very dignified. I thought the music was also very interesting. I loved the Apostles, the Elgar, it was very good. There were also things that people could recognise, a bit of Messiah, and of course the national anthem, so we know it was a royal event, and then Crown Imperial at the end. But and now they're getting into the Landauers, which of course they do for the procession for Ascot, which is a marvellous way of displaying members of the royal family, which you'll have to get used to. That's obviously the design.
Sorry, John, there was much discussion in Windsor this morning. Which side will she be sitting? Which side will she be sitting? I'm glad to say I guessed right.
Absolutely.
It would be normal protocol, I think, for the bride on an occasion such as this to get in and take the seat to the right of the vehicle, wouldn't she?
That's right.
And her groom alongside her.
That's exactly true. Because it's just, it's how people look from left to right as well.
I think people were trying to choose a vantage point either side of Main High Street in Windsor and saying,
which way would
her
it be?
side
Which
or
way
his?
his side? But of course the groom has to take his position when they're doing the processional to defend her. Because in ancient times, of course, weddings were much more barbaric affairs. And the best man apparently was the whole convention of the best man, just in case for whatever reason the groom didn't make it, and so the best man had to stand in.
The second best man, in other words.
The second best man, yeah.
Rodney Barker also with us today.
Yeah. It's not been bad, as it's the first major public event where the royal family has presented itself to the world since the death of Princess Diana. And it's chosen to do it in a much more low-key and recognisable way. Although this clearly was a royal wedding, it was also a wedding in a sense which most people who've been married in church or who've gone to a church wedding would recognise. And I think to that extent it's been very well done.
I think so too. I think I'd have preferred if they'd had the original candlelight service. But however, you know, the 1928 version is what most people have. And it was very reconcilable. Very recognisable. Of course, now we get the sort of royally bit, after having something that was very sort of personal before.
But even here, you see, going through the streets of a small suburban town just outside London, not through the capital, not a great parade. No. Again, and much more like
no horse guards, no.
Not exactly under suffrage, but the suggestion had to be put to them. This would be a nice idea. I think they might have been quite happy to keep the wedding within the confines of Windsor Castle.
I think without a doubt, they'd have preferred to do that. But I think this is obviously now Lady Wessex's first touch of the obligations of public life. Even in the modern sort of monarchy, there are these obligations of sort of pageantry to do as well. And public appearances is very important for members of the royal family to be seen, just as they always were in historical times. And this, of course, is to be seen by the world's media.
Have you yourself coming through?
Which is you were exactly saying, you know, quite often ordinary weddings would have these sort of carriages. And
Though, as we were saying earlier, in ancient times, of course, the royal weddings would not have been seen by the populace.
No.
The wedding which is out there for the ordinary subjects to see is a relatively recent, almost a 20th century event. It's a democratic event.
Exactly, because now the people take part.
Queen and Prince Philip travelling in the glass-top Rolls-Royce. The middle ward, the road that leads around the round tower, that photogenic bit of architecture right at the heart of Windsor Castle, from which the Royal Standard is flying, of course, whenever the Queen's in residence.
And the other thing I thought was very nice about the wedding was a very sort of English wedding. It was quite diffident in a way. There was not a hint of vulgarity about it. And I think that that's always the fine line when people are organising weddings have the problem. They want to make it different, they want to make it memorable. At the same time, they don't want to make it vulgar. And I think we live in an age of increasingly sort of vulgar weddings. And what was very nice, I felt that this was sort of very well placed with the tone. Would you agree with that?
Yes, though of the 4 decent bits of music, 2 were by Germans, 1 was by a Frenchman and 1 was by a Welshman.
It was hardly very patriotic.
Oh, well, reflecting the international nature.
Yes, exactly.
Absolutely.
The global
The European nature.
Yes.
Of it,
The European
perhaps
Union.
apart.
No, had it been, I'm sure if we'd been choosing the music,
So here we are, the top of Castle Hill. And looking back into St George's Gate, and there comes the wedding party now. And this is where thousands more members of the public who applied for the tickets to come and see this wedding have amassed on the lawn to our left, on Sophie's side of things, and also this side of the road too.
And of course this is very much being the people's prince, isn't it? And quite rightly so.